Hello. My name is NicholassRivas. I talk about politics and stuff, and today we're going to be talking about how the Republican Party just doesn't care about you. They hate you. I don't know how else to paint this. The Democrats are better, but at least there's some veneer that they care about the working class people. The Republicans do not have that. They're just throwing it out the window. There's no sort of semblance of they care for the working class. They're just not that anymore. Due to their policies, pound for pound policies, it benefits the oligarchies and the billionaires, tax cuts for the rich. Like that's their mantra. Now, if that's okay with you, then so be it. I can't convince you otherwise. But if you believe and you are under the impression that they are pushing for policies for the working class and are for the everyday person, they're just not. Like it's just factually you're wrong. And so the reason I say this is not because some bias. I just told you I don't like the Democrats, but given people like Nancy Pelosi, who is also bought out by the rich and the corporations and big pharma, she at least has some sort of semblance of working class person when her policies like pushing for minimum wage or gay marriage, like you can tell she's really just a middle left leaning centrist. I would pin her as like maybe you don't agree with her policy pound for pound, but it seems like pushing for minimum wage is more of a working class person than somebody who is doing a flat tax rate, right? Like we're not going to benefit from that. If anything, it's hindering our society and our cities. But at the same time, she's pushing for things like the big pharma push and keeping medical and pharmaceutical prices so high. That's not a working class thing. But again, the Republican Party is not doing the other things. So that's where I'm coming from. And if that doesn't hit you, then I think I have something, and the reason why I'm talking about this today, that will sway you the other way. The RNC Twitter account came out and started poverty shaming Maxwell Frost. Now, Maxwell Frost is a young, newly elected congressman who basically, I think, is the first Gen Zer. I could be wrong. He's very young, though. And he basically said that he can't get a place in D.C. Given that he has really bad credit. And the RNC jumped on this and said, this is a genius way we can get back at Maxwell. We can make fun of him for being poor. Like 60% of Americans are living check to check. Great perspective, RNC. But they basically said that Florida Democrat Congressman-elect Maxwell Frost, whose salary as a member of Congress will be $174,000 a year, says he's probably just going to have to couch surf for a little bit. I that doesn't sound like a story that you're trying, like that framing doesn't sound like it's going to be in your benefit. Like RNC, let's listen to it. In watching his interview, he says, yeah, I have bad credit. That's why I can't get a place. So for one, I don't think the RNC count has ever had a low paying job. I think those little snake oil salesmen have been getting so much money for so long that they don't really understand what being a working class person is. I genuinely believe that they saw that he makes $174,000 a year and thought he has that money right now. Like he has that in his pocket, because they're stupid and they don't know. It's like that scene from 30 Rock when the rich Alec Baldwin character is asked how much a potato costs and he says it's $1,000, right? Like it's nothing. That's the RNC. These idiots probably assumed that 174 is right in his pocket as we speak, and that he could just buy his way out of his bad credit. When in reality, for my example, I'm trying to get a home. We are struggling because we are kind of new into the workforce, right? We just graduated a few years ago, me and my partner, and we both have shit credit just because we have no credit. We are new to the workforce. We just graduated. We weren't working, a full-time job and establishing credit and getting out a loan for a car or a mortgage because we were 18, 19. And so now at our age, even with some years under our belt and some work under our belt and some sort of debt that we've been paying off, we still don't have enough credit for banks and institutions to say, well, that's a pretty trustworthy individual. Now, if you think of a better system, please tell me. I don't like it, but I'm also not in the mind to know what system is better than this. But I do say that this sucks. Like, what else can we do other than have our families support us? And it comes to, getting a big purchase like a home, which we are in searching for. We couldn't do this without our family. So Maxwell Frost, who I give credit to, is probably going to have to, quote unquote, leech off on other people because where's he supposed to go? He just got this new position. He tried to get a place and he's getting denied because his credit is bad. My assumption may be that he's a young guy, so he doesn't have enough established credit. My assumption also too is that he hasn't really made much. I mean, I hope as a politician you make enough money to survive and live. I don't want that, but I imagine too if you're a politician with no backing from these big companies like the Mitch McConnells who are getting paid left and right just to sign off the next deadly bill to ruin our planet, I imagine they got stacks and stacks of contributors and donors ready to go, whereas Maxwell Frost probably doesn't. And I'm very happy about that, knowing that the guy probably hasn't been bought out yet, but he's probably a new startup kind of guy. How the hell is he supposed to have this money? Also, you can't use that donor money to pay for whatever. Like I assume that there's some like sort of donor law here. But all that being said is, I'm kind of proud of the man to admit this, to show like it's a struggle, and it's really nice and refreshing to hear that he's struggling. I don't like that it's this way, but I'm glad that he's not a politician who has a mansion and living in the bourgeois. So I would take that as like a win from the RNC to say, hey, you know what, man, don't worry, like, pick yourself up from your bootstraps. But no, they take the frame of you make so much money, blah, 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 blah. And it's like, that's just not that's not a perspective that I would think the working class party would fight for. You think they would have some empathy or some maybe a different perspective than you make a lot of money, shut up. Like, obviously they should know that that's just not how the world works. I mean, it reminds me of when people who are more right-leaning are like, what a terrible world we live in, how crappy it is, oh, this president's the worst, the gas is so high, the inflation for groceries is so high, which I agree with. But then they don't take it to the route of like, kids should be not burdened with debt. Like, you propose stuff like student debt cancellation, and they look at you like, oh, I paid off my debt. Do we live in the worst society and that it's just impossible for people to survive, or are the kids being pampered? Like, you can't have both. Are you saying that this generation should walk into this crazy debt life and they should just pay it off? But I thought we had the record-breaking inflation. How can they pay for groceries when they have this crazy debt? Like, I just don't understand how crazy the world is to you that you feel like you have to elect someone like Trump because the world is so bad and he's going to stop the corrupt Democrats, but then also say that the world is good enough for these kids to stand on their own 2 feet. I just don't. They don't care about you. They don't care. They're going to keep doing estate taxes and eliminate brackets because they don't want to pay an extra penny, but they want you to take up the cost, and they want to have the illusion that they're doing you a favor. They're cutting you in. They don't care about you. They'll never care about you. This should be proof of that. But, if that doesn't change you, I'm kind of curious on what even will. The RNC has perpetuated these sort of talking points of the kids suck, they don't know how to spend money, and the world's granted to them, and blah 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 blah. Also, it's the worst world ever. Where the Democrats, it's communism. Blah blah blah. Like, pick a side, pick a lane. Is this the world? Is this the worst world? If so, then I don't see how young people like Maxwell Frost can be elected in Congress and not be corrupt. Or are kids like him just being pampered, and we're all just being little corrupt little babies, and that means the world is kind of decent, and whoever's elected right now has been doing a pretty decent job. Like, come on, pick a lane, pick a lane. It is what it is. I agree with a lot of the hatred towards our bourgeois politicians, but I think there's a lot of nuance to this, and as it is right now, the Democrats don't care, but they care a little bit more than the RNC, who gives $0. So thank y'all very much, and keep it real. Peace.